going to be doing a webinar session here with Fix Network with Anne Plant and Jeff Francis. We've got talent acquisition manager Anne, and then technical trainer Jeff. So we've got both sides of the industry they represented. We're going to be talking about revving up your workforce. We all know we're in a skills shortage. It's no secret to anyone that's been around for about 30 seconds in the industry. It's one of the first things that comes up whenever you ask people what the challenges the shops are dealing with right now. So we're going to talk about all the different pillars that Fix Network follows, Fix Network's own contributions to the industry to help the Canadian industry sort of tackle this issue right now. Across Canada, we're not really focused on any specific region. We've got lots to talk about here today with training and acquisition, retention, all the different tactics. So we're going to get into the session today. For those that don't know, I'm Allison Rogers. I'm the editor of Collision Repair Magazine, and I typically host these open dialogue webinar sessions. This is our last one of the year, so we're excited to have Anne and Jeff from Fix Network on with us. We'll start with sort of a presentation and a general discussion about our topic today, which is skills shortage, labor shortage, revving up your workforce, the different pillars of solving the skill shortage really as an industry. And then we're going to have a little Q&A at the end. So feel free to send your questions in during the actual session. We'll get to them at the end. And if we run out of time, then I'm sure Anne and Jeff will be more than happy to answer your questions. So I'll toss the mic over to these two because they're our experts here today. Can't thank you guys enough for being here with us. So Anne, Jeff, why don't you tell our audience a little bit about who you are? Let's start with Anne here.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, today we'll be sharing our insight in some of what we're doing to address the shortage of skilled technician. So Fix Network is aiming to be the leader in the automotive aftermarket services, and to be it, we try to pioneer and address the issue our industry is facing in a proactive manner. So that's why our team is built with competent people that are highly skilled and are really trying to find solutions to play an active role in supporting our franchisee. As of today, Fix Network owns over 7 brands in over 20 countries. Collision repair remains its foundation. And so today you'll have myself and Jeff, who are part of the team, to try and share with you some of our insight. And hopefully you're going to have some key takeaways that you're going to be able to bring onto your day-to-day business. My name is Anne Plant, as you probably guessed. So I'm trying to share over a decade of experience into talent acquisition expertise. So first part of my career, I was mostly focusing into recruitment agencies where I was developing projects and strategies for hard to find highly skilled labor. And so I brought that expertise onto the network in 2018, and I now serve as a talent acquisition manager. So that's about it in a nutshell. So Jeff, I'll let yourself introduce yourself, actually.
Sure. Well, I've been involved in the automotive industry all my life, and that's a good thing. I was a collision repair technician for 20 years. I jumped into apprenticeship instruction for 14 years. That was a great experience that taught me a lot relative to the topics today. I went back into industry and into management. So I went into shop management, everything from estimating all the way through to managing shops. So that was another great experience. 4 years into manufacturing collision repair anchoring equipment and measuring equipment. And then I got offered the position here, and I'm very happy to be with the Fix Network. What makes me able to speak today is the experience that I picked up working with this exact problem, and the problem stems back many, many years. So I've been involved a lot with recruitment and getting young people interested in our industry. So I hope to share some of that experience today.
Perfect. Thank you both for being here with us. Really thrilled to have both of your expertise here from all across the automotive industry, and then Anne's retention experience as well. It's definitely something that we need. Anyone in the automotive industry would agree with that. So I'll just start with that before we delve into the meat and potatoes and the questions. I keep saying that meat and potatoes, but anyway, it's my word of the day. We're going to start with just a brief overview of it's a nationwide issue. This isn't really specific to any region. I mean, Fix is global, so they can tell you from a global perspective. This isn't just even limited to Canada. The skill shortage is vast and a big problem. So There's some Ontario-specific data that shows a 424% increase in 6 years in terms of job vacancies in the automotive trade. That's not just collision repairs, that's all across the board. So, and that's just Ontario, but still shows how dire the situation is. AIA actually just released a study last week that states that there's a lot of turnover, that there's a lot of people from collision repair moving over to other trades and other industries, namely construction. 13% of them moved over to construction. Those are typically young workers aged between 18 to 24 years. And then on top of that, we also have a struggle of actually getting people to train to begin with and even join the trade. So from your perspectives, Jeff and Anne, what does the future of the skills shortage look like? Like, this isn't a new issue and there's still a road ahead of us. So what does the future look like for Canada and as a region?
Well, as you mentioned, it's not a new problem. Late in the 1990s, the red flag started waving that we have a big shortage in technicians coming into the industry. So it's a decades old issue. So today, how do we manage that? Well, I think that Fixed Network has uniquely positioned itself to be able to manage some of these challenges that we have ahead of us. So between my perspective and Anne's perspective, we have a lot of solutions that we hope to share with you today. So a lot of these things require some unconventional methods, but we have to start somewhere, and that's what we want to share with you guys today. Anne?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you just said, Allison, like the data is there. I mean, Employment and Social Development Canada, they provide projection for future trends for all specific job opening per occupation as well. And so they recently published their projections specifically for motor vehicle body repairers. So that includes not only the collision side, but the glass as well. And so for the next 10 years or so, there's going to be a gap. So like, we're going to have a bunch of job opening, not enough job seeker to fill those roles. And if you look at how we're going to fill those roles, it's mostly coming from new graduate, but also a lot from immigration. So we're also going to be talking about that later on. But even with those two sources of job seekers, I mean, we're still going to have a gap of about 1,000 jobs that won't get filled. So how do we tackle that? And that's kind of some insights that we're looking into sharing with you today.
For sure. And how do we tackle that in a period that is full of rapid change in electric vehicles and just big things going on? So what efforts has the industry taken to address this issue? As Jeff said, it's a decades old issue. What have we done to address this issue, and how does a fixed network sort of fit into this whole challenge of tackling the problem that we're facing?
Well, to tackle it, we kind of divided in 3 pillars, I'd say. So I'd say that the first step is actually to retain. So if we already have people, we already have technicians, let's do everything possible to retain them and make sure that they don't leave and provide them reasons to stay. The other pillar would actually be to attract. So how do we stand out in the current job market? How we make sure that available technician, actually already trained technician, go and apply for our jobs rather than our competitors. And finally, it's how do we grow that pool of available technicians? So it's wanting to retain them and attract them, but what if they don't exist? So we have to kind of grow that pool of people we can hire and have working into our shops.
Yeah. So if we're looking at retention as the first pillar here, what has a Fixed Network done to assist your particular shops or elsewhere in that area of retaining staff and making sure that you don't lose the people that you've worked so hard to keep?
Well, having the training centers as a starting point is huge. Just the ability of us to be able to react to our store's needs and requirements and provide them with training in a state-of-the-art environment is huge. So it's not just about certification, which is an ongoing thing year after year for our shops, with equipment that is top of the line, part that is supplied by our partners. Not only that, upskilling. So it's not just about certification. It's how do we provide our stores with the latest in technology at their fingertips ultimately. So that's, I think, one of the big things that we're pitching to everybody here today. The other thing we have to offer is going to be a knowledge base. So if somebody's running into a problem with a repair, hey, reach out. That's what we're here for. We have 3 stores across Canada, or sorry, 3 training centers across Canada, and we're all well equipped to manage any questions.
So you mentioned ICAR certifications. Are there other certifications offered at the facilities? And are these only available to network members? Because I think I've been to the facilities and they're stellar facilities and they're incredible, but I think a lot of people don't know who exactly is available to train there. So could you guys clarify that?
Well, we're all ICAR certified instructors. We're Red Seal as well. And these are the 3 key ones. We have a number of other ones that we can offer as well. But these are the ones that over and over again are requested. So steel sectioning, aluminum welding, structural steel welding. These are the key ones that we have. Now, we post these on the ICAR calendar if we have openings and our shops didn't take advantage of that training session. Absolutely, we'll bring anybody in to the training facilities. We're here to support industry as well as of course the primary focus is our stores. So.
But having that there, I mean, that's a huge benefit. I know that, I mean, the Calgary Training Center just had its grand opening last week, and that's going to fill a huge gap for sure. A lot of people will be able to train from there. So, what courses, you mentioned the courses that were offered here. Tell us, is there any other courses that you guys are looking into adding, or these courses? Tell us about it, Jeff.
Well, once again, these are probably the most requested ones. So ADAS is very important, and a lot of shops are looking at it or have already invested in ADAS. So we want to make sure that we're meeting their requirements for training their staff. Rivet bonding is everywhere today. So we have equipment to facilitate that. MIG brazing has been around for a number of years, but that's something not everybody's familiar with. So we want to make sure that they're upskilled in that regard. Glue pulling repair was kind of a thing that was left out of our industry, but is rapidly being adopted. So we are going to be on top of glue pulling repair, and plastic repair has been a mainstay for many, many years. So that one's offered, and aluminum repair is a lot more dominant in our industry too. So we can facilitate that. We can't forget about our refinish friends. We have manufacturer support like crazy. We have 3 really good partners in paint in-house, and they as well as us will offer color matching on the advanced side, blending, polishing, anything to do with refinishing we can facilitate. We also have state-of-the-art booths, as you can see there, that show the latest in technologies in Revo and paint curing and so on and so forth. So.
Wow, lots of stuff. And like you said, not forgetting the refinishing side. I'm sure the painters are right now.
No, I can never forget my refinish.
So tell us how training kind of ties into employee retention. I know a lot of people obviously understand it, but tell us more about like the nitty gritty that people don't really think about. How does it tie into making your employees stay?
Well, really, it's about value, in my opinion. If you have technicians that gain valuable training, and you're sending them for that training, that's showing them that you value those guys and or girls. But training equates into efficiency. Efficiency equates into performance, and performance benefits everybody in the shop. So the customer gets a better job, the shop has fewer comebacks, the technician sees a result in their pay stub. It's all about value. So this training and the technician's ability to take it in our training centers is very, very beneficial to them. So.
Yeah, and what about on your side, the retention side? What do you think? How does training fit into?
Well, it's actually to prove that you're ready to invest into your people. So that's where you're gonna also be able to retain them. But it's also in a larger idea of having good HR practices within our shops, such as reward and recognition tool, have good performance-based review, has good processes in place to address any situation, offer a safe work environment, for example. And so along with the training, if you want to retain your people, it's important to let them know that a lot of the HR strategy has the purpose of retain rather than replace your actual employees. So for example, like if you're taking HR measures and things like that, you might be thinking, for example, how does a disciplinary action can seem to be like in order to retain people, but it is because the whole goal is actually to address a situation with the employee and offer them the chance to do better rather than simply terminating them and having to replace them. So by having good HR practices in place, well, you're going to retain your people, you're going to improve the way they're working if something doesn't work out. And also if they're unhappy, you're going to be able to address it as well. So that retain pillar also falls under having good HR in place. However, we're aware that all of shops owner have dedicated HR resources and things like that. So for example, at Fix Network, that's why we put our corporate HR team to contribution into creating and uploading and updating and maintaining up-to-date tools to have good HR practices within their shop. So any of our franchisee currently can go onto our intranet or our hubs and have access to those kinds of tools. So they're going to find progressive disciplinary actions process, for example, or a recognition tool, or even job descriptions and things like that to support them. And so that kind of ties all into making sure you keep your people and you get the most out of the employment, both for them and yourself as a shop owner.
Yeah.
And so for those of you here who are kind of standalone shop, who are not part of Fix Network, or can't rely on any corporate team to do it for you, there's a whole bunch of web platform that could also offer you guidance. Of course, it won't necessarily be as specific to our industry, but like it's a great start. And that should be kind of a reflex that you should develop to actually try and retain your people.
Absolutely. Because I think a lot of people, hear the rah, train your people. And then they think like, okay, well, I trained them and then they're just going to get up and leave. Well, it's more than just training. You can't just train them and hope that everything's going to be okay. There's a lot of HR management, a lot of things that go into making sure that people are happy. So glad that we touched on that there. Let's move on to the attract pillar. That was our second pillar that we mentioned at the beginning. So how does the Fix Network team plan to assist in this massive, quite frankly, mission that we have to attract new talent into the industry across Canada?
Well, I'll speak to that one since I'm in talent acquisition, but I think the biggest challenge right now from an employer perspective, regardless of the industry, is to stand out in the job market. So how do you make job seeker first find you, apply to your job? And that's a challenge for everybody. So it can really be boiled down to one simple thing, like how do you make sure that people want to come and work for you? And so first and foremost, you have to build your online employer brand or reputation. That means making sure that when you have job seeker find your job posting, they can also find relevant information about your organization within a minute, because they're not going to spend more than 1 minute trying to figure out who you are. It's kind of putting that like into the dating game, for example. Like if you're thinking about the dating game, people are going on those apps now and there and they're just swiping. They're not going to go and investigate like, how is he? And that's the exact same thing when it comes down to recruiting. When someone is looking for a new job, he's not going to do an hour-long investigation to know if he wants to work. He's going to look, and if within a minute he finds something that convinces them that it's a great place to work, they're going to apply, and then they're going to know more. So in order to be able to stand out from all of your competitors, well, you've got to do everything you can to be first in any Google search, for example. So when a job, because let's be honest, nowadays when people are looking for a job, they're not directly going to every specific job site. They're basically opening up any browsers, which in most of the cases Google. They go into Google and they say auto body technician job in Toronto, for example, or in Calgary. And so you need to be into those top first results, because they're not going to go page by page. And I mean, you all know when you do a Google search, you don't go further than the
Who
first
goes
page.
past the second page? Like, or
No,
first.
exactly. I don't remember the last time I went to the second page. And so when that's done, you also have to make sure that you have an easy to navigate website and that you really has that ability to share at a glance all the open job position that you have. So for example, if someone found a job in one specific city that doesn't reflect, he's able to see all the other opportunity that you have to offer, and they can choose what fits them the best. So that's basically one thing. So for example, here we have done kind of a big effort at regrouping all of our shop to make sure that they're all into the same place now. And so from a fixed network perspective, that's something that we're doing for our shop. However, it's still something that you can do on a local level as well. Create your Facebook page, have your company page up on the various websites. But we, of course, handle that on behalf of our franchisee, regardless of the brand. Then the other thing, it's a good thing that they find you online and that they see that you have job posting open, but your job posting in itself need to be attractive and convince them to apply. So I'd like to share kind of the tips and tricks, or do's and don't, call it as you wish, but like a job posting, first and foremost, it's an ad. It's not a job description. Okay. So you need to put kind of a marketing hat on and say like, okay, how do I convince someone that they want to buy my job rather than the competitor's one? And so that's what you have to keep in mind. So in order to do that, you keep it short. You show what's in it for them to apply to your specific job. And don't be too specific. If you put it every little thing that you need, the person's gonna feel like they don't have what it takes, and they're not gonna apply. Keep the luxury of declining candidate for you. Have everybody who thinks they have what it takes to apply, and then choose from it. So you'd rather have a little bit more applicant that might not be qualified, but then find that little gem that was sitting in there, than being too specific and people say, oh my God, I don't have what it takes. I'm just not gonna apply. And so one thing that I often like to explain, because I said put your marketing on. So let's say you're hungry, you want a quick snack, you're gonna go into your favorite convenience store and you're gonna see this chocolate bar. I mean, if it's like this, you're gonna buy it for sure. It looks good. So that's your job ad. If the wrapping was actually the back of it, and that's it, you're probably never going to buy said chocolate bar. I mean, you have all the sugar, the fat, the calories, everything that you're going to be buying it. And you're just like, oh, that's not as attractive. It's the exact same chocolate bar. You're not selling something that's not true. You're just presenting it more attractively so people actually want to know more about it. Once they're in front of you, they're in an interview, they want to come and work for you. That's where you share the ins and outs, and you give them the fats and sugar and calories, but also the vitamins that's in there. But like, have them be attractive, have them be interested and come and work for you.
I really like what you said about make everyone think that they're qualified for the job and then leave the luxury of like declining a candidate for you. I mean, there's been so many times I know when I was doing my initial job search in the field in different industry, of course, reading through, 50 words of a job posting and then seeing a long list of all the tasks and responsibilities. And you're like, I can't do this. But in all reality, it's just, fancy jargon and lingo and legalese. So, and definitely think about everyone in the chat. Ask yourself if a dairy milk bar was looking like this versus what Anne just showed on the back, all the nutritional facts and mumbo jumbo there. Which one would you pick up off the shelf? Some people might pick the one with all of the information on the back just to clean up the display because they want to be perfectionists. But like, really, let's think about that. I think it's a great analogy and everyone should really take a minute to think on that. But I think also like we've touched on here is it's more than just a talent pool issue. There's definitely technicians out there. There's people joining the industry still, albeit maybe fewer than there were 30 years ago. There's also sort of a public perception, and it's really been our mission at Collision Repair Magazine, and I know Fixed Network has the same sort of mission, that we clean up the industry image. People seem to think that this is a dirty industry to work in all the time, and everyone's crazy in the body shop, and it's all sorts of nefarious behavior going on. There's also some back and forth in terms of who is to blame for this shortage. So some people will blame door rates or labor rates, or they'll blame the industry reputation. So like, how does the public perception of all of this fit into how we can, I don't know, how can we spin that to attract people into this field and figure out how to get new talent? Jeff?
Well, You know, when I said earlier, like to stand out from the job market, that's kind of what we try to do. So like FX Network, what we did, we not only did we help our franchisee with the whole employer branding image and everything, but we also implemented some tools. Like for example, now we have Indeed groups where it has all the job posting or pre-built template that they can have access to. So that way, from the public's perception or the job seeker perspective, when they're actually looking for a job, it looks all kind of all the same across the board. It is kind of nice, good looking. It gives people like they want to come and work because it's more attractive. It's very more, as I said, it's short, it's sweet, it's kind of more of an ad than a job description. And so but still our franchisee that are using this tool still keep 100% of their spending, and they can still choose to use it or not. But those are kind of tools that are created to support and making the whole industry kind of look better, and it also reflects on other. And so basically it looks a lot more attractive and everything, but we still need to address the general public perception, I'd say, of the industry itself. I mean, Jeff, maybe you could jump in here a little bit, but like I haven't seen a lot of 12-year-old kids saying when I grow up I want to be a refinish technician or anything. Like there's a lot of work to be done in that area.
Yeah, and we do have to change the general public's perception. I'll give you a perfect example as I attend a lot of career fairs. You speak to parents as well as the kids who might be interested. They're drawn into our display. And the parents go, well, I just don't want Susie or Bobby, working in an unhealthy, dirty environment. And that's our opportunity to explain to them that, you know what, this is a much cleaner, healthier environment. And it's been cleaned up for a lot of years, but we just haven't shown them that it's a viable career for Bobby and Susie, so they're quite surprised, and then, a little bit more willing to help guide them down the right path. Now, a lot of schools are opening up their doors to us going in and speaking to their classes and trying to show them that we are a viable place to make a living. So, I think we're on the right path. The shops generally are much cleaner and tidier and present themselves a lot, but most people don't wander into a body shop on a regular basis like they would travel to a McDonald's or a Walmart. It's only out of necessity do they actually travel and see what's actually changed in our industry. So from, when we're planting seeds and we're trying to get people attracted to our industry, we have to start at the grassroots and look at who's guiding them, like who's directing them, and give them the information to help feed the need that we have in our industry. So, wages are good in our industry. I don't think that there's a problem there. Maybe it looks frowned upon in some areas compared to being a doctor or a lawyer, but not everybody wants to have that type of role in life. I certainly didn't. And the car culture is huge. Our industry is exciting. That's what got me into this industry. So we're going to utilize a lot of these tools to help change that perspective and how people view our industry. All this stuff doesn't just happen. People are doing this, and it's exciting stuff. So we need to figure out ways to help change the narrative on what our industry actually is, and show people that it's a good industry, and it's exciting too. I find it a very exciting industry.
Absolutely. I mean, it's always changing. And I think your point about people don't wander into body shops as they do, McDonald's or a Tim Hortons to get, something on a monthly, weekly, whenever, how that's your business, how often you go get fast food. But people don't wander into body shops and stuff. All they really see is a bunch of crash cars out front of body shops, which, I mean, doesn't really help the image that has already been created here in a lot of people's minds. So a lot of we actually have a issue theme for next year that's like the looks of the industry and tackling a lot of stuff around that. So definitely a lot of work to be done, and glad that we're focusing on, beautiful training centers like this Calgary facility and your facility in Milton and everything, and Blainville. So
Yeah, don't forget Quebec.
I can't forget. That's the only one I haven't been to. That's why it slipped my mind. But let's talk about the desires of employees today. People say I'd referenced the AIA study at the beginning of the call. A lot of people are moving for different industries. What are some of the top things that people are looking for when they do want to find somewhere that, like, hey, I could stay here for a long time? What do people want in a job today? The technicians, the painters.
Well, it's really easy to say everybody wants big wages, and that's the big lure. But there's a few other things to consider here. And speaking from in my technician shoes, it mattered to me that I was respected where I worked. It was a safe place. I know we call it a safe place to work these days. It wasn't a buzzword back then. Recognition for the work that I did, and some reward. Now, reward doesn't have to be money. It can be a meal out. It can be a number of different things. I'll give you two examples. We have an employer here in Alberta in the southeast, and he gets it. Respect is he hired two registered apprenticeship students right out of high school. And, they're working hard for him. He's paying them decent. That's a good thing. But out of respect for them, he actually brought them to our grand opening. He traveled halfway across the province with two young apprentices that are about a year under their belt, showed them the respect and, of course, recognition that they mean something to the business. And what's the reward? Well, they got an overnight stay and a trip with the boss all the way up here. So that's a big thing at the grassroots level to, show value, that they're valued in their industry. So, and then right from the technician standpoint, just showing them respect, of course, is a big thing in keeping them retained. But recognize the work that they do from time to time, rewarding them with certain things. As from a shop standpoint, when we made budget, we would have a hamburger day, and I would literally actually grill the burgers. It wasn't just bring in pizza, which is, it's a nice thing to have. And if we really blew it open with a good month, man, we would kick it up and even throw some steaks on the grill from time to time. So those things in a timely fashion are huge things to helping an employee feel valued. Now, organization of the shop is another thing that's very important to help keep a technician happy. All the equipment maintained in the shop is very important. And open communication. So, morning meetings are a good thing, but we don't need to be just telling the techs what's expected of them. We also need to communicate or let them communicate back to us what's going on in the shop and what's going on in their life and environment to help make their day more productive. So wages are always a thing, of course, but really, if you show them the 3 R's, give them an organized shop and environment to work in, and where the tools are well maintained, and you have open communication to check in with them and find out what's going on in their day-to-day, that really goes a long ways to making the tech happy.
Yeah, Jeff, you're right about that. And when we're talking communication, I think we're also talking knowing how to communicate with all the generation that we hire onto our teams as well. And that's something that we have to keep in mind. And I know that's things that you hear again and again, but it's because it's important, maybe. But the new generation, we as an employer no longer have the big part of the stick. Now we don't have people lining up outside our shop hoping to get a job within our organization, we are kind of hoping to have, we're kind of lining up through potential workers to have them come and work for us.
Mhm.
So we have to have that open communication and understand that we're no longer in that powerful position that we decide everything. And we have to hear and to understand what the people are what our people are telling us, and try to adapt and understand that if they ask for flexibility, for example, it's not necessarily because they are that new generation that does not want to work. It's also because it's what they've learned, it's what they saw. They maybe saw their parent not being so flexible and they don't want to relive that. So like there's a whole component that we also need to keep in mind when it comes to communication. And that comes into attracting your people, retaining your people as well. So it kind of tie into both of those pillars, because that's where you're going to retain your people. But also, if when you're trying to bring new people in, they feel like you're listening and you have that open communication channels with them, you're most likely to convince them to come and work for you rather than the shop next door.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Creating a culture where people can come to you with a challenge or an issue or any sort of comment, that's definitely a really good recipe. At least personally speaking, it's a really good recipe for retention there, forming an actual bond and caring about your employees. So we've kind of touched on a little bit already throughout the call, but on a more local perspective, talking from like the shops on the ground of this, of solving this issue. All of this stuff is great for attracting existing technicians that have already trained or have their Red Seal or license, or apprentices that have already shown interest in the field. But many like will always argue that there is just frankly not enough techs trained or people interested in the industry to fill these roles that are available, especially in rural locations, like when we're talking about rural Alberta, rural Saskatchewan, rural Manitoba. How do we work as a shop owner on a ground floor? How do you work to acquire brand new, fresh talent in the industry? And how can we all come together to do these things that can actually make a difference?
Yeah, well, Anne sort of touched on it just a second ago. We used to get 20, 30 applications for a position in a shop, but it just doesn't happen anymore. So I'm going to use kind of an analogy here as, if if we're looking for food, we go to a supermarket and there's lots of food there and we just pick and choose what we want and away we go. Well, there is no supermarket anymore. We're having to actually plant a garden in order to survive. So where do we do this? How do we do this? Well, to me, I was fortunate enough to just be at SEMA, and I'll tell you, the car culture and kids interested in cars is thick. Like there was thousands and thousands of people there, wall to wall, and that's cherry picking right there. So car shows are a great place for us to plant seeds. We need to be there. We need to be the people that travel there. So you mentioned corner to corner, from one corner of the country to the other corner of the country, where maybe there isn't a training center in your backyard where we're going to host a car show or something. Travel to a car show, set up a booth, and actually talk to kids. It's amazing how many high schools already have apprenticeship programs in place in conjunction with apprenticeship boards that get them on their way. And if they're interested in cars, that's perfect. That's a perfect opportunity to get people in. We travel to car shows, but career fairs as well. I go to as many as I can, and that results in a lot of high school visits too, where I get to speak one-on-one with kids in shop classes, right? And even academics, as well as showing that we are a viable alternative and how they can get into it. They don't even understand what collision repair is and how you would get into it. So we need to be out there and help the recruitment aspect by introducing our trade to the industry. Other things that we do, we of course attend Skills Canada. We're a sponsor for Skills Canada. The other thing that you can do locally is, if you're not aware of it, it doesn't matter what territory you're in and what province you're in, the apprenticeship board that you have has some relationship with high schools in that to register an apprentice and have them work part-time, grow from within by getting the kids in early, get the hooks in them, help them out, and you'll get a good reward out of it. The youth want to learn quickly, and we just have to help plan those seats with them too. There's a lot of underrepresented groups that we will work with and strengthen relationships in the future as well. And that's women that are interested in trades. The collision repair industry is very viable for them. A lot of women have gone into refinishing and some into collision repair, and they're very good, very good. These are some of the things that we have to do. Get involved with your post-secondary schools that are around you. You know, they have entry-level programs that are looking to place young people, and they may come out with equivalent to level 1 for apprenticeship for paint or for body. So these are all how we can build on the future. And like I said, we can't just go to the store and pick exactly what we want. We're at a state right now that we have to go out there and try a little bit harder to find that next superstar in your shop. And they're there. They are. I see them every day. So this isn't doom and gloom. This is your opportunity and our opportunity. So.
Absolutely. Like, I mean, I personally know one person that was interested in actually 2 stories here, but I had a friend that went to university for photography, did photography, worked as a photographer a little, decided she didn't like it anymore. And she actually just recently decided 5 years out of school that she's going to go back and become an auto body technician. So I was cheering when I heard that. She's been a lifelong friend, and I was like, yes, maybe I had some role in that. But there's so many people that once there's a little spark, you can easily take that person and really invest a lot of energy and training and everything into them. And really, I don't want to, it sounds strange when you say it like this, but you can build the technician that you want. You can build someone that would be perfect for the environment that you have in your shop if you just take these extra steps. And I think a really key point too is if something's not working, change your approach, because there's always something new that you can try.
100%.
And let's talk about that temporary foreign worker program too, because I know that's something a lot of people are interested in to fill these gaps, bringing new people.
Yeah, well, just like Jeff said, like there's no supermarket, we have to plant our seed, but there are some countries where you can go and find some available technicians, and that's kind of how we could also grow. So I think I touched it really quickly at the beginning that immigration will still represent a huge portion of how we're going to have available workforce actually. And so it is not just something to the future or something, it's now. So we have to tackle into the immigration. I mean, I think if you listen to the news just quite a bit, you probably heard it over and over. It's on every politician's lip right now that like we need to dive into it. And so that's kind of where we are now. So the numbers are there. The new graduate will continue to be the largest source of new labor, but they won't be enough. And I mean, it's still a good proportion, of the available technician that will come from skilled immigration. And so, I mean, with Fix Network, what we've decided to do is to have a skilled labor immigration program. The whole intent is, I won't be lying, immigration rules and processes, they're complicated and they're costly. Over the past year, you probably heard various horror stories from shop owners who've tried to handle it on their own, and some with great success, but some that kind of got really worried through it. And so that's why we kind of decided to jump in and offer support in that area. So we're looking at be able to share our immigration expertise with the shops, support them through the process, and facilitated the integration. We also want to make sure that it's not just, you mentioned a temporary foreign worker program. That's kind of the door you use with the government to get into the country, but the whole purpose is to actually grow the available pool of technicians. So we're actually looking to have a path through permanent residency. So those people are not only coming right now to kind of help with the urge that we have to have technicians now, but the whole purpose is to have them in the long run and to have family reunification where they can come and join them. And so they actually build their life here and they stay here. And what's good with all that is that not only do they have knowledge, but they're such a good sharing of knowledge. So they come in here, they're super happy to learn and they have good motivation, but they also use some tricks that we're probably not so familiar with, and they're able to do that cross training with their workers. In our corporate shop within the last year, we have over 30 foreign workers currently. And to be honest, their experience, motivation, and performance are outstanding, and like they're really, really motivated. And so I encourage every shop who wants to bring in foreign workers, it's a good thing. Like, be open to it. However, I do strongly advise you to seek guidance from an external legal counsel who specialize in immigration, because the rules are ever changing and it could be really, really to navigate and to know exactly. So seek some guidance, but it is worth it. And yeah, it's something that we should absolutely invest in.
I think a lot of people write it off because, like you said, it is working with this process and it's a never-changing process. It can be a real headache. But personally, I also know 2 shops. We actually had one of your shops from Prince Edward Island, Fix Auto Charlottetown, was on our cover for Bodyworks last year because they've worked a lot of their team has been through this exact program that they've been able to recruit and retain some staff there, and they're thriving. Another shop out on the Maritimes as well, I know for a fact their entire staff was brought in through the skilled labor immigration program, and they swear they think it's a great program. They've never had any issues. So it is possible, despite the horror stories that you've heard, if you have good legal counsel, like Anne was saying here. It's definitely possible. But if anyone has any questions, toss those down in the Q&A, because we're going to jump into our Q&A, but we wanted to kind of stress something here before we jump into things. So, Anne, Jeff, you wanted to talk about how they could sign up to learn more information about training, etc.
Yeah, actually really simple. I think you heard a lot about a training center with Jeff. And so as you now learn that they're not only open to our shops, but also to the whole industry. So if you actually want to learn more, hear more, see upcoming training session events and things like that, you could simply click on the link in the chat, or you can scan the QR code on your screen right now to register, and you could have more news about us. Always happy to be here to help.
Yeah, absolutely. We've got a question here in our Q&A already, but they're looking to speak in French. So, Anne, if that's okay, I'm just going to tell them that they can reach out to you afterwards.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, perfect. Thank you for the question there, Ross Merlin. But yeah, so we're gonna jump in. Like Anne said and Jeff said, scan the QR code here if you want to be updated on information, all the different training courses that they're offering. I mean, we saw the extensive list. Wheel repair, ADAS, we're finishing stuff. We've got color matching, got all of the incredible tools in there, and a really lengthy list of vendor partners that worked to make the Fix training centers what they are today. And they're beautiful facilities. They're sprawling, and the floors are beautiful too. But everything about the facilities are great. And thanks so much for all of the insight we've gotten here today from you guys. We're gonna dive into some of our questions we've got here as well. So why don't we just start with what we were just talking about, the red tape kind of. I mean, we sort of touched on that a little bit, but the red tape around hiring someone from abroad, there's horror stories, there's a lot of things that people have said around that. But and working in your experience, have you, I'm not sure how I'm trying to word this here. Maybe we'll move on to a different question before I come back and reword that. Sorry to whoever asked that one. But I think one question at the top of everyone's minds here too is plenty of shop owners will argue that they'll train a staff member up, spend all this money training someone to be a professional in all these different skills, and then they'll watch them leave to go to a different higher paying shop, or the shop that's offering a $5,000 sign-on bonus. So what do we have to say about those comments there?
Yeah, Jeff has the perfect answer on this one.
Well, you know what? First off, training and certification is a given these days. So, I mean, it's tough. I know it's costly to train up somebody and see them go just because they think the grass is greener down the road. One of the things you can do, and Anne would agree with this, is make sure that we have an open door policy for them as they leave. Now, I'll go back to the 3 R's. Don't give them a reason to leave, right? If you're providing a productive environment for them where, you know, it maximizes their potential to earn, that's something that's hard to match up with. If the culture is good in the shop, then once again, that's hard to match up with. So make sure that they're happy in their environment. Sit down and have that open conversation to find out, where did we go wrong and how do we move forward to make sure that we're, addressing whatever made them unhappy enough to leave. Now, wages is one thing. A productive environment is another. If you give them that opportunity to convey their issues, perhaps we can slow that train down. So. Em, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like, what if you train someone and they leave, but what if you don't train them? And this like kind of like sometimes you need to take risks. That might be a risk investing, but like it could be a really good risk that actually pays off. And what if they go to that training and they come back and they actually share their new knowledge to their colleagues, and the whole productivity of your team will be highly impacted. So even if they leave, the knowledge that they got and shared to the team will probably stay within your shop. And so, yeah, so I'd argue with this one. Like, investing in people is really a loss of time and money. It's often not, sorry for this one, but yeah, it's often not a waste of time and money. Like, it's an investment. And whether they stay for a month or 10 years afterwards, I mean, probably everybody benefits from it.
Yeah, exactly. And like you said, Jeff, if you train them and they stay forever, you could not train them and they stay forever. So you want to be able to show support there. Absolutely. We've got some questions from the audience coming in as well. What is Fix Network doing to prepare their technicians for the EV future? We've actually been doing stuff together to work on that, but I know Fix has been also addressing the EV side of things. So tell us what you guys have been doing to address the electric future and preparing your techs for that.
Well, we've been preparing our training facilities to be equipped for proper training with EVs. So Blainville and Milton are a little bit ahead of us here, but we're right behind on that. So we will be able to facilitate EV training here in the near future, and I know it's already underway in Blainville for sure. So
Quebec being a big market for that.
Of course, yes.
Yeah, and we had our electric vehicle repair tour that we took to Toronto, Calgary at the Fix Training Center back in September, Vancouver, and Saskatchewan. We went and brought sort of a general knowledge of electric vehicles. So Fix was our supporter in that, and they were kind enough to help us acquire some of the knowledge that they have in the industry and their beautiful facilities to teach the industry a little bit about EVs. So that's an ever-arching mission, and I'm sure we've got more stuff coming down the pipeline there. We've got another question here. I love that somebody brought this up because we haven't talked about it, but how will Fix Network use the amazing F1 tie-in to assist in attracting the younger generation to Fix? So if anyone on the line doesn't know, Fix actually just announced a partnership about 2 months ago with F1 Formula One. It's the Alfa Romeo F1 stake team, I believe. So tell us how we're going to use that pretty exciting global partnership to attract a younger generation.
Well, remember when I said stand out from the job market? That's one way of doing it. I mean, and Jeff kind of touched it earlier, but the car culture is not dying, and so that's kind of tying into it, kind of creating that spark with the younger generation. So we know F1 is still super popular with the younger population as well as olders, like no matter your age. So we kind of try and put that spark in that we're in there, we're a good, like, we're really well positioned. If you want to join the industry, you might as well do it with us. So that's kind of tying into the whole like standing out of,
Yeah. All right, cool. Perfect. All right. So keep your questions coming, guys. We still got about 5 minutes on here. So shop owners are pressed for cash. Some people would argue that we're on the brink of a recession, in a recession, depends on who you ask. How do you suggest that some of these shops afford a training investment, especially given this kind of risk that a painter might leave? How do they kind of weigh their options, and decide what?
Yeah. Training, is short-term pain, long-term gain at the end of the day, right? That really is what summarizes the whole thing. Nobody wants to see a productive technician leave for 8 hours for training. Nobody wants to see that. But at the end of the day, should they pick up the skills necessary to improve their productivity, that's exactly what the value is in it. So as a shop manager, I never like to see a tech go for a day. It was tough. You have to schedule for that sort of thing. And I guess that's going with this is make sure you calendar your employees in such a way that you're staggered where you don't feel it all at once, and space things out. Look for opportunities to take training after hours or even on weekends. I know that we will be offering those types of things occasionally here, and they do back east as well. I'm in Calgary, of course. So that's how I would look at it: is short-term pain, a long-term gain. That's what you always got to keep in the back of your mind. And that, once again, allowing the employee to go for that training shows an investment in them. And technicians get a little disappointed when, they're not receiving their training too. So keep that in mind when you're on the retention side of the fence, is, consider what their needs are too in their position.
And also remember that, like, not sending someone to training when they know that there's training available out there, that might actually send them the opposite message, and you might they might become less productive, less engaged, less motivated, and might as well quit. So you don't want to have the counter effect of not sending them to training either.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Got some more questions popping in, so hopefully we can get to them in the last 4 minutes here. But Alan Preston from Alberta here is looking for some thoughts. He said the average OEM mechanical shop rate is now around 155 an hour, and the techs are making an average of 50, 60 an hour plus benefits. Those mechanical shops are having the same issues as the auto body trade, however. Says our shop rates are horribly undervalued by insurance. And Nate and Sate are dropping certain sessions because of lack of students. He says when this industry collapses, is that when we'll see a change in interest in the trade? What are your thoughts there? I mean, it's a very doom and gloom perspective, but I mean, it's been happening for a long time. People have been screaming into what feels like a void. So what are our thoughts there?
Well, that's a tough one to answer, and I don't have the direct answer for that, as I don't control door rates and what have you. So, but having said that, I know a lot of technicians are still doing very well in the industry and pulling a good living. Now, we all would love to see big lofty door rates, that's for sure. But if you need to try and increase a technician's take-home pay, well, some of the things that we talked about earlier would be helpful, and that would be make your shop a little bit more efficient. That's really the things that we can control. And in regards to the dying trade, I don't think we're a dying trade, not by a long shot. I am so excited to have our training center open, and you're going to see an influx of younger people, at least at the bare minimum, come into the trade, as my passion for the industry will hopefully reflect on them, and we'll push them out there and show them the opportunities they have in our industry.
It's definitely a mission of getting everybody on board and everybody together like
that.
It
is, yeah.
Is a lot of what the training center mission is behind. And, whenever you guys have had events at training centers, I've always been very pleased to find that all sectors of the industry are represented. You have shop owners, technicians, you have insurance partners, vendor partners, the equipment partners. Everybody seems really collective.
I'd like to expand a little bit on that to this person too, in that one thing that we do is we help our network become more efficient. So if they need somebody to come in and say, look, Jeff, what can I do to increase my productivity? Here's my constraint. Those are some of the tools that we possess. And it's not just me. We have a whole staff of people that support our shops, and they're all well equipped to help identify some of those things. So just ask the question, give us a call, and we're glad to help you.
Absolutely. Getting everyone on the same page, collective efforts.
Yeah.
All right. As to foreign workers, Rob Bentley is wondering, do you know what countries and accreditations transfer to Canada without having to be retested or certified? I am familiar with the skills equivalency testing in Ontario. So that's always an option there, but maybe Anne can elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, I don't think I would get into the whole list today. There is some, but again, it depends from which accreditation we're talking about, which province, which region, which country, which trade as well, I would say. So like for refinish or auto body or so like I won't get so, but I think it's easily available as well. Like if you go on to the there are some tools directly onto the immigration website where you could see the outside of the country comparison to the Canadian one and see like if they're renowned or if you have to redo them. And sometimes there's a fast track too. So like if they come from a country where they didn't have any certification, there's a fast track to the certification. They don't have to do it all over again. So that would be my short answer because it's a bit of a too long and too technical answer.
Yeah, our NOA has to align with whatever training they received in their country, and then we identify the weaknesses, and we can help with the upskilling in that regard too. It's not a new thing. It's something I did a number of years ago when we brought a bunch of Jamaican workers in. So it's a strong possibility that we're going to get deeper involved in that sort of thing.
Yeah, and you can find passionate people very easily. I know when we're looking for stories to share in the magazine, many times we've come across GoFundMe's from people like Jeff saying in Jamaica, Dominican Republic, Haiti, looking for sponsorship to be able to come to Canada and practice the trade that they love. So it's definitely, there's options out there. And I'm not going to say they're not hard to find, but you can definitely find people, and you just have to put the work in to be able to get to that stage. So we're past the hour now. People probably have meetings to run off to, but I just want to say thank you both for all of the opinions and thoughts we shared here today. I mean, this is a great discussion. Had a lot of people public in the chat here. So thank you so much for bringing your expertise. Is there any closing comments we want to give to our audience? I mean, we'll send another message here, make sure that everyone signs up for updates on the training courses and whatnot. But Jeff, any closing comments?
No, thank you very much for having us. I'm very excited about what we're going to accomplish with the training center now that we've had our grand opening. And I hope to see a lot of technicians, young people, women in trades, First Nations people come through here, and we're gonna fire up the bandwagon and get these people out into the shops. So that's the power of our network.
Let's go.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you so much. Thanks, Anne and Jeff, and thank you to our audience for participating. And we'll see you in the new year with a new open dialogue webinar. Have a great holiday season, everyone. Bye.